In this video, I'm going to show you how creative you can be with a free design software. I'm going to be challenging myself to make this design that I'd normally use Photoshop or Illustrator for inside of Adobe Spark. What's up, guys? Thanks for clicking on this video. My name is Nate Hibbert, and this is Wingman University, where our goal is to help you start and scale a print-on-demand business. Today, I was doing some research for our print-on-demand business, and I came across a design that I really liked and wanted to improve on. And I thought I would challenge myself in today's video to not do that inside of Photoshop or Illustrator, but to actually do that inside of Adobe Spark. So if you're not a graphic designer and you're hearing me talk about all those tools, let me quickly explain that Photoshop and Illustrator are both kind of the industry standard for professional graphic designers. And Spark is a free web-based tool. So not nearly as powerful, but it has actually been my go-to tool for our print-on-demand business when it comes to text-based design. So that's the tool I'm going to be using for this challenge. And while having Photoshop and Illustrator is great, let's find out how powerful a free design software can be. So here we are inside of Amazon to see what the competition will look like for Social Distancing Champion. And even without typing t-shirt in, actually, I'm seeing that these are all t-shirts and they're all around this idea of Sasquatch being the social distance champion. So I like this. I like the verbiage that I'm seeing is fairly consistent among all these shirts, which means that customers are coming here wanting a shirt with that saying on it. But the designs are all kind of the normal, like, Sasquatch imagery. I had this idea because I played a bunch of sports as a kid. I had a lot of these like Little League champion shirts, and I just thought that idea would kind of be funny to go along with something like this. So that's exactly what I did. I went Google searching the NBA champion shirts, and this one from 2018 really caught my eye, not only because it's a cool design, but it's using fairly basic shapes and fairly basic color scheme, and this is part of the challenge of me trying to create something inside of Spark. I think it has to actually be doable. It's going to take some figuring out exactly how to get all these shapes and the shading of all this to look the way that I want it to, but I really do think we could create this inside of Spark, but using this social distancing and Sasquatch theme to really be the through line of what we are designing. But let's go ahead and jump into Spark, where I've already got my artboard at the proper sizing, which is 4,500 by 5,400, and we can just start designing. And I think the easiest way for me to do this is to split my screens. And then here we go. We've got our design that we're going to be using as inspiration here, and we've got our artboard all ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to start with the biggest design element here, which are triangles. So triangles are just a good thing to design around in general, but especially for this design, I think it looks really neat the way that they have multiple triangles, creating this more interesting shape than just putting one big triangle on there. So that's what we're going to try and do, is recreate that first. We're just going to go ahead and flip that upside down and start with this as our basic shape. So you saw that I immediately made this a lot bigger than it was originally, and moving it up to the top, basically where I want it. I do think I want some wording above this, so I might move this down a little bit. Thinking through this, and you might even have to make this design once or twice to really get a feel for how you're going to pull this off. But I'm going to guesstimate, and with all the knowledge that I have inside of this tool and just kind of designing in general, I'm going to say that that's about where I want the start of this design to be. And so maybe if I can zoom in on this design a little bit over here, we can see this a little bit better. So we're actually using 5 different triangles here, or at least we're going to have to use 5 different triangles inside of Spark. So I'm going to duplicate this out and move this down a little bit to get that shape that they have here. I'm just going to use the same color layout as well. And actually both of these are going to be yellow. Those will be the 2 colors I use, but we can already see that this is starting to take shape a little bit. And now, working from kind of the back of this design forward, I'm going to try and create the outline of this shape. It's hard to see what I'm doing here because this is all one color. So let me go ahead and change this to a white. And with my orders here, I'm going to move this all the way to the back because I want it to be our background. And then I'm going to do that same thing for this triangle down here, and that way we get this white border that's going around this entire design. And then we'll put it in the spot that we want it. This is definitely not my normal work process for something like this. Like I said, mostly we're just doing text-based designs. So this is just a fun challenge, and really to show you guys the power of this tool. Like, you can do some pretty cool things inside of Spark, but if you are really looking to get into design, have this kind of be your springboard to look into other things like Photoshop, because it does make your life a lot easier. But I mean, if you're on a budget, or if you're really just getting started and you just want to mess around, with this tool. Or if you are a designer, you want to challenge yourself, it is kind of fun to work inside of a limited tool compared to something like Photoshop. Now, as far as other beginner tools, I think this has a lot of usability. I'm not getting paid by Adobe yet, hopefully one day. We're now going to work on this blue triangle, and I'm actually seeing there is another border inside of this blue triangle, or right behind rather this blue triangle. Is if I make it that blue that I wanted, it'd be easier to see. I think that's pretty close. And then we're going to duplicate this out and put a white one behind it, giving us that little bit of border. So inside of Photoshop, that's a much easier thing to do. I would not suggest this is the way that you should do it on every platform, but again, with the limitations that we have here, I think that this is the easiest way to get that to work. And I think that looks pretty good. So we got a pretty cool shape here, and this is all just using triangles and some knowledge of how to use the order slider. But there we go, there's our basic shape, and now we get to start doing the more fun stuff, which is adding the words. I'm gonna work my way from the top to bottom. So there we go. That is our social distancing champion, a very complicated design, a very fun challenge for me just to see if this was possible. I know we sped through a lot of the technical parts of this video. It's not because I didn't think that would be helpful. It was just because it took a lot longer than I thought. But I have good news. If you'd like to see that full video, you can click the link down below. And personally, I love doing this content that's a little bit longer where I get to go more into detail. So if you guys would like to see that, you can comment just the word "more" down below. And if you'd like to see me create other designs using Spark, you can click this playlist over here. But until the next video, I'll see you guys around.